I'd like to call this meeting to order. May we give another round of applause to this amazing choir? Who would like to hear them perform again? I would. That was fabulous. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. May I have roll call, please?
Mrs. Baker,
Here.
Mrs. Greenberg,
Here.
Mrs. Christensen,
Here.
Mrs. Case,
Here.
Mr. Pantera.
Here.
Next on the agenda, approval of agenda, Dr. Bells.
Thank you, President Case. Items approved by consent will not come up for discussion during the meeting, but will be adopted when the agenda is adopted, approved when the agenda is adopted. This is possible since members of the governing board receive agenda along with backup materials at least 24 hours prior to the meeting and have time to review and consider all items. Prior to the agenda being adopted, members of the governing board or audience may ask that an item be removed from the consent agenda and brought to the floor for discussion at the appropriate place on the agenda. I would like to offer the agenda as posted.
Does any member of the governing board wish to have an item removed from the consent agenda? Does any member of the audience wish to have an item removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, Mrs. Baker, may I have a motion to approve the meeting agenda and recommended consent agenda items?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda, governing board statements. Mr. Pantera, would you like to start tonight?
Sure, why not? Good evening, everyone. I'm glad you're all here. Thanks for attending. I did some visits. Oh, by the way, that choir, you guys were awesome. Now, if you need a tenor sometime, okay, if you have auditions, look me up. I'm all over that. I visited 2 schools this week, Roadrunner School, and then Paris Valley High School. It's the first time I've been to Roadrunner since they've redone it, since it's been remodeled. Very much a beautiful campus. I remember starting teaching there in 1978. It became Cholla, then it became Goldust, then Cholla, and it's completely different now. And the work they do, the K-12 work they do there is fantastic. When I was there, I discovered that the flag in my classroom only had 48 stars, right? I mean, it wasn't that old, but there it was. Great work they do there. PV High School, I was there. I really enjoyed all the things I saw there. The one thing that stuck out though for me was visiting their fashion, if you will, the textile thing that they do there. I'm sure it has a name, I just forgot it. It was so amazing. It's not just teaching someone how to sew. It's about the project from beginning to end, designing the fashion, making it come to life, learning how to produce it and all the elements of the best kind of fashion. I showed that to my wife. She's a seamstress. She used to be. And she's very excited to participate, come in and be a speaker there. Maybe get the company she works for, Spoonflower. They do textile things, and that's where she works now. She's right now probably thinking about ways to arrange field trips so students can visit that. Made me feel real happy that she wants to do that, but it's just the way we are. And a lot of people in the district are that way. We don't have students or children in the district anymore, but we still want to reach out and help them. We want to do whatever we can. What? I got a buzzer? Okay, I thought I heard a buzzer. Is that a thing? Buzzers? I knew it. Maybe I should have one. Well, it just means that we all are here for this students. And that's why I'm very confident when I see things that PTSOs are doing around the district, other volunteer groups. That's why I'm very hopeful that this bond that we got is going to go through, because everyone understands whether they have children or not, that we want to have great, strong neighborhoods and schools. Thank you.
Mrs. Greenberg?
I'm not a tenor, but I'm an alto, so if anybody, needs that. But I want to thank our fine arts teachers, for once again serenading us. It was incredible, and it's incredibly exciting as well to know that these are the teachers in our classrooms with our kids. And, it's not, and they are able to impart, in this case, that love of music. And it's thrilling to know that. Did not have a chance to make visits as Mr. Pantera did, but I do want to thank PVEA for hosting yesterday, right? Yesterday's new administrators reception, where we could once again welcome new administrators or those who are new in new positions. And it was a great little afternoon event, and I appreciated the invite. And that's really all I have today. Thanks.
Thank you. Mrs. Baker?
Thank you. Welcome everyone here tonight. Again, I echo their sentiments. The performance was amazing, and I love listening and hearing the talent that our own staff has. That was incredible. I have not been to any site meetings either, or site visits either. I start on Monday. I have 2 visits, so I'm excited to be back in the schools and see our students and our educators. I did send my recent Pinnacle graduate to college. He went to ASU. We just moved him into his dorm, which was a huge transition. It's exciting, it's sad, it's, your child isn't at home anymore, which is a really weird transition. But what it made me think about was how grateful that I was for the different pathways that our district offers students as they go out into the world between our CTE courses, our certifications. We prepare kids if they're going to 4U universities or community college. And I'm grateful for the choices. My own children, I have 3 in college. Currently, right now, I have 3 children in college, and they've all chosen different paths. And so I'm just grateful to be part of a district that offers that to our students, because there are so many different options as they go out into the world. So thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Christensen?
I'd like to thank everyone for coming today, and just remember that we are your elected officials. So if you ever want to reach out to any of us, we want to hear from you. We love to hear from all of you, and it's just so nice to see so many individuals in the audience. That song, "Why We Sing," that I almost couldn't hold that together. My son was in the Phoenix Children's Chorus in 5th grade when he started coming to PV schools, Pinnacle Peak Prep. And they used to sing that song with the Phoenix Children's Chorus every year at the end, and all of the alum would come sing, and that song gives me goosebumps all the time. My son's a senior this, wow, he's a senior this year. And it just brought back flashbacks of, how we got there. And as Miss Baker said, there's so many pathways, and we're grateful for school choice, and to be able, he's supposed to go to one school, but he's chosen to go to Horizon because they have a nationally recognized choir program, and it's wonderful. And it's been great for our family. And finally, I just wanted to thank, I saw Principal Martin back there. She gave me a tour of North Ranch, and the principal, Penoyer and Liberty, there she is way back there. I just thank you for the wonderful school tours.
Thank you. I also wanted to talk about the new administrators reception. While we're there, some of us made comments. Some of the board members made comments, and Mrs. Greenberg made a comment about our district is different, and I want it to stay different than other districts. I want us to be a place where people feel comfortable, where they feel like family. And she reminded me of all of those times, and at the new administrators reception, people who'd grown up in the district were now a principal at a school, or someone had gone out of the district and then back to the district, and they had children in the district. And we truly are a family in Paradise. And I hope that we can be respectful to each other and speak kindly to each other, that our time together can be an example to our students of how we conduct ourselves in public. And I think that's really important that we set a good example here. But her words reminded me how important that is for us. And I so appreciate the new administrators, and I wish them well in their new endeavors. And yes, you will be over your head in water and you'll come out the other end. And there's so many people. Somebody was wearing somebody else's badge and it was funny and everybody was happy. And I just think that we have an opportunity to share joy in the journey if we choose to. And I hope that we do choose to. Um, I cannot get over how beautiful that choir was. And I vote that they do it again. I hope we make this an annual event. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. And our students are so fortunate to have teachers who are creative and willing to put themselves out there in front of a room full of adults. And I just thank you very much. One of the reasons I like being on the board is to see something like that. That was wonderful. Thank you. Next on the agenda is awards and recognitions. Dr. Bells.
Thank you, President Case. It's always a pleasure to highlight our students and staff for awards and recognitions. And tonight, Mr. Droege will MC the honors. So at this time, I'd like to invite the governing board to join me in front of the dais.
Good evening, President Case, governing board members, Dr. Bales, members of cabinet, and attendees both in person and virtual. Tonight, we have several recognitions to share with you. This evening, we'll be inviting our honorees to the front of the room for a recognition and a photo. So when I call your name, please make it to the front of the room. Our first honoree is one of 10 Arizona students honored as a winner in the inaugural AZ 529 My Picture Perfect Career Photo Contest. This student entered a photo of herself depicting her dream career as a future teacher. As an Arizona winner and the only third grade winner in the entire state, she was presented with a check of $529 that'll go into an AZ 529 Education Savings Plan. This PV student was honored by Treasurer Kimberly Yee recently at the Arizona State Capitol. Here this evening, please help me welcome from Quail Run Elementary School, Sophia Porter. This next student has undoubtedly made a name for himself in the area of finance and investing. As the state winner of the Arizona Council of Economic Education Invest Right Essay Competition Elementary Division, his essay left lasting impressions on the judges and set a high bar for other elementary students in the state of Arizona. It's evident that his hard work and hours of learning have paid dividends. Please put your hands together from Sonoran Sky Elementary School, Carter Kasarjan. Carter was unable to be here, but worth the recognition nonetheless. Our next honoree was named the 2022-23 AIA Coach of the Year. This longtime coach has led her team to 5 state championships, has over 1,000 wins under her belt, has won multiple Coach of the Year awards, and has dedicated 43 years to coaching at Horizon High School. This last year was her final season. Please give a big round of applause for the 2022-23 Horizon Girls Volleyball Coach and AIA Coach of the Year, Valerie McKenzie. This next educator has left an indelible mark on his students and colleagues. His dedication and passion for teaching have made a resounding impact on the Crest Computer Science Strand and the PV Schools District Network Security Program. As winner of the 2023 Career Technical Education of Arizona New Career and Technical Education Teacher of the Year Award, this PV Schools staff member was recognized as a new CTE teacher who's made a significant contribution toward CTE. Please help me welcome from Paradise Valley High School, Joseph Troxel. And lastly tonight, I'm proud to have the honor of introducing the winners of the National School Public Relations Association Awards of Excellence. I'm so lucky to have the opportunity to lead this dedicated and talented group of professionals, and I'm happy to announce them tonight. While our goal is to avoid being the story ourselves, as a district, we couldn't pass up the opportunity to highlight these pretty impressive accomplishments. Please help me welcome to the front of the room national leaders and recipients of 2 awards of excellence in the categories of website design and video production, and recipients of 2 honorable mentions, one for e-newsletters and special purpose publications, the PV Schools Marketing and Communications Department. Website marketing specialist, Kara Angeli. Digital and social media specialist, Zach Strophus. The district's public information officer and communications specialist, Sarah Hackett. Our 2 translators who help us speak not only in English but Spanish, Jeannie Montano Terry and Therese Mexis. Unable to be here this evening, our administrative assistant, Debbie Tice. And since these projects lasted more than 1 year in the making, I'd also like to give a shout out to a few past members who had a part in earning this national recognition, Andrew Gilstrap and Tony Manny. And that, President Case, concludes this evening's awards and recognitions.
Those were some amazing awards, to some deserving people. Are there family and friends of people who were, we didn't have you do that? Raise your hand for family and friends that were here for the recipients. There you go. Thank you very much. We know you support people in order for them to do what they do, so thank you. Next on the agenda is call to the public. Please turn your attention to the video monitors for the next section.
Call to the Public is about to convene. This portion of today's meeting allows the public the opportunity to address the governing board. Although state law does not require that the governing board hold a call to the public, the Paradise Valley Unified School District and its board have chosen to do so because we believe it's important to hear about concerns and issues from our community. While Call to the Public is not designed to be a discussion, the board is here to listen. Due to Arizona open meeting law, the governing board cannot respond to, discuss, or take any action on items brought up during this time. However, staff members may be directed to get back to you and address individual concerns. As a reminder, the point of this and every board meeting is to accomplish the business at hand, and to be able to do so in an open and collaborative way. All in attendance are expected to observe meeting rules as well as rules of politeness and decorum, so that we may serve as an example to our students that issues can be discussed in a respectful and civil manner.
Tonight, oh, I didn't count them. I apologize. Let's see, excuse me. I believe it's 10 people who have submitted comment cards for the comments, plus we have 8 for during the discussion time of our meeting. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for remarks. Those who have asked to speak on agenda items will be recognized at the appropriate time during the meeting. Those agenda items that were removed from the consent agenda will be moved to items for approval following the last agenda item in that category. As a reminder, we ask that you please direct your comments to the board. Please state your first and last name when you come to the podium. And if I mispronounce your name, it's because sometimes I can't read your handwriting. I'm so sorry. I'll do the best I can. The first speaker will be David, I think it's Lurkson. And the second will be Caitlin Brayfogle. I'm not sure. Caitlin Brayfogle.
Good evening. Excuse me. I was here last meeting, unfortunately ran out of time. Very concerned about the material that the NEA is promoting, that your staff, your teachers are reading this material and inevitably disseminating this to our minor children. I have 2 minor children that are in this school, and I'm very concerned about adults speaking to sexually related matters with children. And I want to touch on the LGBTQ movement. L, lesbian, that's a sexual preference. G, gay, sexual preference. B, bisexual, that's a sexual preference. Queer, I guess that's a sexual preference. Transsexual, that's a promotion of gender mutilation. Why are these matters being discussed in any regard, even through the expression of a rainbow flag, which these activists have hijacked? So I'm asking this board, like I did in the last meeting, to make a public declaration against this pedophilic content. This is pedophilia. When you have an adult speaking to children or promoting any material to a child that consists of this type of material, that is against the law. And at some point, there will be legal action. And as a man from Kenya and his transsexual spouse once said, change has come to America. It's coming. And when Trump returns, he is going to adopt a lot of guidelines which will directly affect this district and all districts across the country. Among many other things will be this disgusting, vile, evil material. So I ask that the board be proactive and eliminate this, eliminate all rainbow flags, mandate that all educators stop or do not engage with their students about any of this material, because otherwise that is illegal. And you're acting like a pedophile. If you want to talk about that with my daughters, any of you, speak like that with my daughters. This is unacceptable. That's all I'm going to say. And lastly, I'm going to talk about term limits. There are those of you up there that like to tweet about the murder of babies, when you're here to protect the children, your children have long since left. It's time for you to go, Ms. Greenberg. Time for you to resign. And for you, AOC, you need to resign as well. You do not represent this district when you talk about transgender ideology.
Excuse me, your time is up. Caitlin Brufogel and then Debbie Waxelbaum.
Hello, my name is Chris Breifogel. This is Caitlin Breifogel. We have children in this district. I'm here to speak about an incident that happened a week ago. So that's pretty close to the beginning of the year. Okay, sorry. The issue is very simple. These computers are not safe. They're not. Simply put, they're not. I emailed all of you. I don't know if you've read the email, but I will enlighten the rest of everybody. In your class, in your building, with your teacher right next to it on your device, a child showed the rest of the class somebody self-annihilating on live stream on your computer, on the campus Wi-Fi. That shouldn't be possible. A 13-year-old beat the brakes off of your entire IT team. That's unacceptable. And the technology that did this, it's an embedded engine. That, anybody who remembers MySpace, that's MySpace technology. It's not okay that anybody who figures out what this 13-year-old did, and if you think he's the only one who figured it out, you're not paying attention. It's mind-boggling. I don't know how many kids in this district have computers, but I'd like to think there's enough that a percentage have figured out ways around your firewall. Now, of course, I hear things like VPN and cell phones. That's great. I control my son's cell phone right now on my phone. He can't look at what I don't want him to look at. He can't play what I don't want him to play, and he can't download what I will not accept. Why can't the school's laptops do the same thing? My son is 12. He watched someone blow their head off. That's insane. In 5th period. If you saw his face, when I had to come pick him up specifically because in my family, I'm the only one who has witnessed severely horrible things as a combat veteran. And I'm telling you, I've never seen stuff like this. This is insane, and he's not forgetting it. And as far as what the school did in response, it was, I don't know. They didn't know what to do because this has never happened before. Because everything else that's happened has been in regards to, well, you've got porn and things like that. Well, this is as bad, if not worse. My son's first dead body, 12 years old, in 5th period. This can't happen. You guys need to fix this fast. We trust you. We trust your employees. I'm not getting that call again. Thank you.
Debbie Waxelbaum, followed by Lead Michaelis. I'm not sure how to say that.
Nancy Case, Governing Board, Dr. Bales, Cabinet. My name is Debbie Waxelbaum. I'm an early childhood special education teacher at the Lee Center, J.P. Lee. I've been a teacher there for 19 years. Very excited that we are one of 9 schools that was awarded the Arizona PBIS Award for kindness, sharing, and teaching little humans how to self-regulate their behavior and navigate the world we live in. I need to take my glasses off to see. And we've had won this award since 2019. 4 years. We keep just climbing up in terms of all the hard work and excellence that we do. In spite of all the challenges that we are facing in the world today and at PV, we understand the importance of special education. I truly believe JP Lee, even though we're a program, we're the foundation of special education. We get them when they're turning 3. We work with them until they're 5, and we transition them and find excellent programs for them as they enter into kindergarten and go on to grown-up big boy and girl school. We teach our children to be self-reliant, caring, and kind little ones. Our curriculum is play-based and encourages and explores science, math, academics in our play. I want to thank the board for attending events and listening to what students and adults have to say. I would like to extend an invitation for you to come to JPL and participate maybe in circle time, story time, or maybe some hands-on activity like apple volcanoes and oobleck. And then I look forward to hearing about your experiences at JPL. You might have to brush up on the wheels on the bus, though. You got to know those words. On behalf of JPL, we are very proud of this award. And I also want to extend congratulations to the other 8 schools, the big boy girl in schools, because we're a program in their middle and elementary schools, to the Arizona PBIS award. Thank you.
Leo Michaelis, I don't know if, I think it's Leo.
Yep,
and then-
Leo Michaelis, almost got it. We
Thank
can work
you.
on it.
Gina and
on the
then
name.
Gina Griffiths. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear school board members, dear parents and other attendees, last meeting, I didn't check the length of my comment and had to stop in the middle of it, right when it was getting interesting. I had mentioned last meeting that I grew up in a socialist dictatorship in Eastern Europe, maybe the worst one in the whole Warsaw Pact. And I can definitely speak about how totalitarian regimes look and feel like, especially given the oppression levels it achieved and the lack of freedoms. We were practically slaves in our own country. We were not allowed to leave the country. We were not allowed to say anything about the regime unless you wanted to end up in prison. One of the most important things I took with me from the time is the knowledge about totalitarianism and the goal, and my own goal, to never let it happen again to me. That's why I also got rid of that citizenship as soon as I was able to get another one as a legal immigrant. So what does freedom seeking have to do with schools and education? Well, we see that the COVID lockdowns in 2020 and the following vaccines and mask mandates have done to the society. It has not only impacted government employees, companies working with or for the government, but also schools. And with that, the children. And with that, the parents. But that's actually what you see in totalitarian regimes do, not America. However, when the parents started to question those strict school policies, especially the mask mandates, which were probably the most uninformed decisions ever made, those parents were deemed terrorists. At least the FBI thought so. The FBI is one of those institutions which would help install totalitarian regimes nationally, by the way. Beware the corrupt intelligence agencies. Anyways, I think that the most insidious thing to do towards loving parents who only want the best for their kids, it's their duty to, and also their freedoms for the parents to decide what their kids should or should not do, not the schools. Which of you were part of the school board in 2020? Norris, you don't need to answer. The policies adopted in that time were kind of spineless. Please do not buckle again to political pressure. But I hope we all learned from that short-lived dictatorial time in our country. I am assuming that everyone in this room loves America and its people with all their similarities as well differences with other racial and ethnic backgrounds, etc. United States is the most multi-ethnic nation in the world. America means common sense and understanding to one another. And I assume that the school board members know now what decisions make sense and how they can keep the education environment stay free of restricting and damaging policies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Gina Griffiths, and after her is Lily Grisham.
Good evening, President Case and members of the Governing Board and Dr. Bales and Cabinet. Thank you so much for having us here. And thank you for your service. You all do this because you're helping the community be better. And I am grateful that you take your time and commitment to do that. What I want to talk about tonight is why public schools, as some of you alluded to, there are a lot of options, right? So why my kids are in public school. My name's Gina Griffiths. I forgot to say that. I'm a parent in the district. I live in the district. I have a graduate from PV, a senior at PV, and a 7th grader at Sunrise, and we love PV. So why we choose public schools? Because strong neighborhood schools lead to strong communities. That's how we build community, when everyone comes together, as Mr. Pantera was talking about earlier. That's what makes our communities stronger. Because public schools have to educate all kids, which means public schools are more diverse. And that prepares my kids for the beautifully diverse world that we live in. All people of all backgrounds, of all orientations, of all religions. When we're in public school, everyone needs to learn to get along together, and we need to respect each other, as President Case was talking about. That's one of the reasons we choose public school. Public schools actually have mandates and standards for teachers that private and charter schools do not, and I'm grateful for that. You have top-notch educated teachers out there with my kids who are creative and smart and use best practices because they're trained to educate. I'm not. That's why I trust them. Public schools are bigger, and because you're bigger, the economy of scale lets you offer more academic options. It offers more choices for what our students can do and where they can go when they grow. More vocational training, more extracurricular activities, and I'm grateful for those options. I did a little research and I didn't realize that public school initially was developed to help alleviate social class barriers. That was news to me. I don't know if everyone's aware of that. That's one of the reasons. It's to help bring everyone together and tear down the divides. It also is to serve the purpose of preparing our youth for participation in our democracy and a democratic citizenship. We want to have educated people participating in that, making informed choices based on their experiences with others in diverse environments. Public schools attract better teachers. Public schools have greater fiscal responsibility. Public schools are reliable and they have to be available to everyone, and you do a great job. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Lily Grisham, followed by Annette Economos. I'm not sure.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to speak. First, I'd like to say that I was appalled earlier, and I don't think you should allow people to come up here and talk if they are so rude and personally attack board members and call them out by names. That's not civilized, and it's not how we share different views or concerns. And I want to talk about woke, being woke. Woke is not a bad word. It means awakened, aware, enlightened, especially to racisms and social injustices, to be well-informed, thoughtful, compassionate, humble, and kind. Some people use the word woke as if it's supposed to be an insult, but probably they use it because they can't spell empathetic, educated, enlightened, or aware. The purpose of a public education in public school is not to teach kids only what parents want them to be taught. It is to teach them what society needs them to know. The client of the public school is not the parent, but the entire community. When a school board, a library, or a state bans books, it is not a show of strength or to protect kids. It is a sign that they're ruled by fear, fear of knowledge, fear of opposing views, and fear of democracy. And I'm not sure where this parents should control what is taught in schools because there are a kids mentality, but parents have the option to send their kids to a private school, and it should be at their own expense. And now they even have the ESA vouchers. So no matter how hard some people try, we can't just choose to learn what we want to know and not what we should know. We should learn everything, the good, the bad, and the truth of who we are as a nation. Reading a book about Einstein isn't going to make your kids smarter. Acknowledging that some kids have 2 dads or 2 moms isn't trying to make them gay. It's helping them learn about the world around them. Albert Einstein's quote, 3 great forces rule the world, stupidity, fear, and greed. Not a single kid has ever died in a mass reading, yet books are being banned instead of guns. I'd rather see 2 men holding hands than 2 men holding guns. When you ban books in the classrooms but not guns, you're admitting that you're more afraid of your children learning than you're afraid of them dying. History is not there for you to like or dislike. It is there for you to learn from it. And if it offends you, even better, because then you are less likely to repeat it. It's not yours to erase. It belongs to all of us. And diversity, equity, and the inclusion program, parents are against because they're afraid that white children are being made to feel bad. Banning DEI might score points in the culture wars, but it won't erase the facts or the legacy of America's history. Acknowledging reality is not being woke. And there is a drag show bill in Arizona that the state law says it's dangerous crimes against children, and it would criminalize drag in the presence of a minor. And but guess what? The men in dresses abusing children aren't drag queens. They're the clergy. Okay, that's all.
Annette Economides, followed by Josh Atkins.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Annette Economides. Difficult to pronounce. My husband's Greek. I'm Italian. I'd like to just share, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to come up here and speak to all of you. Secondly, I'd like to just share a little bit about myself. I have 5 grown children, 3 sons and 2 daughters. 2 of the sons were adopted as special needs kids. So we have been part of this community serving for many, many years. I came to Arizona in the late 70s. Of our 3 sons are all Eagle Scouts. And of course, you know what that means. When you're the mom of an Eagle Scout, you're involved in a Boy Scout troop and you're helping in every way you can possibly help. Our oldest daughter received the Congressional Award Gold Medal from Washington, D.C. And that was a 2-year program that was quite accomplishing. Quite an accomplishment. Our youngest daughter worked with 4-H and made it to the leadership team of the state. So I've encouraged all of our kids to reach for the moon, and they're all financially independent adults at this point. So I'm happy that we worked and I was intricately involved in my kids' lives. I was the party house. I fed everybody. I knew all their friends. But it was clean stuff. It wasn't weird stuff. The thing I'd like to say to all of you tonight, I don't have a specific agenda, except that I think I heard somebody say that the governing board can vote and approve the agenda. I'm assuming that's for tonight's meeting because they saw that agenda 24 hours in advance. And my wish or my challenge, and how dare I challenge you, I'm just a mom, but my challenge for all of you tonight is that you have an incredible position of power in the community. How are you using that? Do you know both sides of the coin? Are you aware? Because you can't rule if you don't know both sides. Do you know the folks that want medical freedom? Do you know all the different things that they believe so that you know how to vote? Is 24 hours, if indeed you had 24 hours to review everything, is that enough time to make an intelligent, informed decision about all the issues are being thrown at you? What are you doing with your position of power? That's what I want to ask you tonight. Thank you.
Josh Atkins, followed by Remo Antonelli. I'm not sure.
Good evening, President Case, board members, Dr. Bales, and cabinet. My name is Josh Atkins. I am the proud music and culinary teacher at Greenway Middle School. And I want to stand here tonight and thank you all for your support of the fine arts in our district. The fine arts in this district are some of the best in the state. I know I teach 3 of them, band, strings, and choir, and I am so fortunate to work in a district and at a school that supports our fine arts and our fine arts students. The fine arts are an amazing way for all of our students to be able to express themselves, to be able to enjoy the world around them. And by spending time in the fine arts, they leave the world a little more beautiful than they found it. And because of a district like this, we are able to grow and nurture those students in things like visual arts, as you see around this room, all the stunning art that our students produce. It's mind-blowing. I can barely draw a stick figure. And so one of my favorite things is every year when we do the art purchase to see the amazing artwork that our students put together. Our amazing musicians taught by some of the amazing teachers you saw up here tonight, my esteemed colleagues who work tirelessly to make sure that there are performances for our kids to learn the grit and the perseverance and the fortitude it takes to stand up on a stage and present something that they've worked on, to our drama and dance and all of those teachers. And I would be remiss to not thank our amazing leader, Maureen Minnick, Director of Fine Arts, who does an amazing job coordinating all of those disparate programs and making sure that whatever funding we do get is spread out so that we can help our students. And to thank the community, the last bond we passed gave over $1 million to the fine arts so that I was able to buy things like instruments for my growing band program that desperately needed them. So I just wanted to get up and take a second to say thank you.
Thank you. Remo Antonelio, I'm not sure, close, and then followed by Alan Walker.
Is that good? Yeah. President Case, members of the board, Superintendent Bales, also remaining members and everyone here in attendance, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Remo Antonioli. Been a resident here in Scottsdale for 12 years with my wife. Moved here from Michigan. And we attended our first meeting 2 weeks ago. I've always been a big proponent of K-12 education and just wanted to get involved. So we attended the meeting. And after that meeting, I was shocked to hear the discussion around the 3 amendments or the 3 motions that are coming up tonight in reference to the rules of order, meeting times, and meeting agenda. Now, I could have addressed all 3 of them separately. And I just figured I'd do this all at once here in this forum. I really feel that the board is making these meetings exclusive instead of inclusive. Okay, and I'll explain my position. Okay, rather than opening it up to other opinions, you're actually closing it down. So the first thing was to change the start time. And it was centered around a board member wanting to get home earlier for the children. What about those people and families that want to have a family dinner and come here at 7 o'clock? Aren't you taking into consideration their schedule? Isn't that important? Every one of you, when you sought your positions, knew the time demands on your schedule. And now here you want to change them. I think that's very unfair. Secondly, the requirement to have a second on a motion that is amended. I think that limits the discussion. I think that's what these people want to hear is your opinions on things. So all of a sudden now you're going to amend a motion, you don't get a second, boom, end of discussion. I think these people want to hear your opinion. We want to hear where you stand on these items, okay? So again, exclusivity instead of inclusivity. The last thing was moving this forum, okay, the call to public later on in the meeting, okay? And so the thing is, it would be offensive It's like tonight, there was young children around. We don't want to be offensive to them. I understand that. But why not move the awards to the beginning of the meeting? There's no reason why you have to go through certain things in order to give awards and then ask that they be excused. So the thing is what we would do, you're asking that people stay here until late to express their opinion. And then one board member last time said, oh, some people leave after, expressing their opinion. So you're forcing people to stay just so they can express their opinion. I think
Next is Alan Walker.
President Case, governing board members, Dr. Bales, and members of the cabinet. My name is Alan Walker, and I am a music teacher here in the Paradise Valley Unified School District. And I just want to echo some of the sentiments of my colleague that spoke just a few minutes ago, Josh. Thank you for the support for fine arts in our district. I love working here, and the other teachers, the other fine arts teachers and everyone. But I especially want to just give a shout out to Mrs. Minnick. And I think that she's one of the best things that has happened to this district. I want to just thank you for hiring her. We see maybe a few things on the surface, but we don't necessarily see what's going on in the background. She must be working hours, late hours. I don't know how she does it, but she comes back with things that are just put together in a way that is like, wow, how did she do that? And allocating resources, budgeting, and things that provide the tools that we need to do our jobs. So I'm very, very grateful for our Director of Fine Arts. I wanted to speak about a concern that I had regarding maintenance. And before I say too much, I want to say that the district does a great job with construction, with new buildings, new construction. I'm wondering if there's a way that we could maybe adjust and reallocate some resources for maintenance. The reason is usually at the beginning of the year, of course, every school, every classroom is, wanting more air conditioning. This is just Phoenix. This is what it is we need air conditioning. So I get that, I understand. But then every once in a while, something else comes along. I was at one of my schools, and after having worked there for a few years, I'm used to walking into the classroom, lights come on, air conditioning comes on, everything's working fine. Right as the year began, when I walked into my classroom, nothing happened. The lights didn't kick on. It was pitch black. There wasn't even a window in the classroom. My concern is that it was going to take a long time before a work order was submitted, but the word was that it was going to take a long time. I'm not sure if it was a couple of weeks or however long, because the district had somewhere in the ballpark of 150 work orders that they were working on, and they only have a crew of 6. I don't know if those numbers are accurate. It just seems, I'm wondering if there's a way, and maybe that's not possible. I'm wondering if there's a way that we can maybe boost those numbers at the beginning of the year when it's needed and there's a higher demand. And then, I don't know, you can work it out, I guess, in terms of budget, but I just wanted to just express my concern that it seems always, at the beginning of the year, and I've been working in this district for 14, 15 years, and it just seems like there's always something at the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is superintendent comments. Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Case. In PV schools, we engage, inspire, and nurture students through high-quality instruction, meaningful educational opportunities, and dynamic learning experiences. One of those experiences is middle school festival sports, an opportunity for students to learn athletic skills and teamwork. Girls softball and boys basketball begin practicing on August 28th. So if your child's interested in participating, make sure that you contact your middle school's athletic director for more information. With a journey of excellence for every child, we're proud to support education both on and off the field, the court, and the stage. Next, I'd like to recognize some recipients of a very prestigious award. And so I would like to congratulate the following schools And I would like to ask that the principals who are here from the schools that I mentioned, please stand. And then I'm going to ask any teachers from those sites to stand also. Or the representative. So if those schools, congratulations. This is the PBIS Arizona Award. Congratulations to Cactus View, Campo Bello, Desert Shadows. We'll get them all standing first, okay? Have them stand up. We'll do that. That way they have to stay standing. Yes, principals, you have to stay standing. All right. Stay standing. Fireside Elementary, North Ranch Elementary, Sun Kids Preschool, Whispering Wind Academy, Eagle Ridge Elementary, Grayhawk Elementary, Greenway Middle School. These schools are recipients of the 2023 Arizona Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports Award for implementing PBIS with rigor and high fidelity and for finding effective outcomes for PBIS frameworks that benefit all students. PBIS is a proactive approach to establishing the behavioral supports and the culture needed for all students in a school to achieve success. It's also one of our district's 4 initiatives so that all schools can get to this level of implementation. Thank you to these schools and the teachers, support staff for being leaders to helping us make this amazing work come true. Would the teachers from any of these schools also please stand and join your principals? And let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. All right, next, Donuts with the District. All right. Yes, check out Donuts with the District. This is an opportunity for parents and guardians and community members to meet with my cabinet, myself, board members, if available, in an informal setting throughout the district. This casual meet and greet setting offers the community a chance to hear from district leadership, as well as provide feedback on timely educational topics that are not future board agenda items. This event, supporting the PV School Strategic Plan, promotes community strength and collaboration within the district. Check out Donuts events. It's on our calendar. They're all scheduled out, and the first event of the year is scheduled for September 28th at Sky Crossing Elementary. It's open to everybody. Next, for the 4th year in a row, PV Schools has been named one of Forbes' America's Best In-State Employers. America's best employers were identified in an independent survey taken by approximately 45,000 American employees. The evaluation was based on a direct and indirect recommendations for respondents who were asked to rate their willingness to recommend an employer to friends and family. I'd like to point out that there aren't too many educational institutions on the list, especially K-12 school districts, making this an honor even more meaningful. Looking for a new career? Find your place here in Paradise. Join us, join Team Paradise, and find more information available at jobs.pvschools.net. With the 2023 bond election in November, PV Schools wants to make sure that you, our community, has the latest information and facts about the bond. In PV Schools, we want to keep our community and voters informed, and that's why we are offering 5 town hall meetings during the month of September. The same presentation will be provided at each town hall. They are at our 5 comprehensive high schools. A recording will be made of one and posted on the website to make the information easily accessible to all members of our community. In addition to these meetings, we have a page on our district website where you can access important bond information and more details about our town hall meetings. To learn more, visit pvschools.net/bond. And those are my comments for tonight, President Case.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bales. Next on the agenda is items for approval. H1, the first item is consideration and approval to move the start time for governing board regular meetings to 6:30. This is the second reading. So we've had the start time of our meeting at 7 o'clock, and it was suggested that we go to 6:30. The meetings have become longer, and we are concerned that there's many principals who start very early the next day, and there's many considerations. But we do not have any cards from the public. May I have a motion to approve moving the governing board regular meeting start time to 6:30 as presented?
So moved.
Any board members wishing to make a comment? I kind of made a comment. I attended board meetings as a parent for 10 years before I ever ran for the school board. I liked the 7 o'clock time, but our meetings did not go as late as they do now. And so there's a difference with the length of time our meetings have turned into. So with principals needing to be at schools early and teachers needing to be there, it's become more difficult. So school boards can set their time whenever it works best, and many school boards start at 5 and 6. There's all different times. So we kind of made it halfway in between, making it 6:30. Any other comments from any school board members?
I guess I have one.
Okay.
I'm retired, so to me, it doesn't matter when it starts. Right? It just doesn't matter. I'm going to be here. And so I generally will defer to the earlier time only for what you said, President Case, that the meetings are going longer, gives more time to fit all in. That's all I want to say about that.
No, any other comments? Are we ready to vote then? Okay, we already had a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? I can never say that word. Abstentions. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. This recommendation was approved, so our next meeting on September 21st would begin at 6:30. And hopefully you'll take note of that in your calendars. Next on the agenda, consideration and approval of revisions to Governing Board Policy BEDD, Rules of Order. This is the second reading. This has to do with each action shall require a motion. If a motion is subject to amendment, such a motion to amend requires a second. If the motion to amend does not receive a second, it fails. If the amendment is seconded, then it may be considered and passed by a majority vote. If the amendment passes by a majority vote, then the original motion as amended shall be considered. May I have a motion, please, Mrs. Baker?
So moved.
Any board members wishing to make a comment on this? Mrs. Christensen?
I'll be brief. We've already discussed this. The original intent of removing all motions, the governing board, is for the minority board member. And, you know, I've discussed it with other individuals that have known the history of why we have removed seconding, and the intent was to remove seconding for all motions. It doesn't matter if it's a amendment to a motion or an original motion.
Thank you. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? Motion passes with 4 ayes and 1 nay. Next on the agenda is H3, consideration and approval of revisions to Governing Board Policy BEDB agenda. This is a second reading. So this has to do with moving the public comment to the end of the meeting instead of having it where it is right now. And as I said, I came as a parent for 10 years before I was ever elected to the board. So I often made comments because that's my nature. And we we choose to allow the public to make comments, and there's been some commotion at some of the public comment, and sometimes there's children in the room. But before I go on, we probably need to make a motion, don't we? We have public cards and we need to do that before the motion. Thank you. You get up here and your brain leaves your brain. Okay. First is we have many public cards on this, I think 8. Jessica Landon, followed by David, I'm not sure how to say that. Likran? I'm not sure how to say that. The handwriting's different this time.
Hello, my name is Jessica Landon. I have 2 children who are part of this district. One is elementary and the other is middle school. A few years ago, I really started paying attention to what things were taking place in schools and school districts across the country. It made me curious as to what was happening in our own district, so I started attending meetings, both in person and online. Over the years, I've seen a trend, and to be honest, I don't like it. Time and time again, I feel that this board has attempted to silence parents and community members who speak out. One example of this is back in September 2021, when the board members chose to no longer show public speakers' faces or audience in video recordings. Why was there the need to change how things were being recorded and shown on our YouTube channel? I assume because we're focusing on damage control and limiting what information people were allowed to see. It's clear that this board doesn't want to hear from parents, plain and simple. The fact that pushing public comments back until the end of the meeting is even on the agenda tonight is just another example of that. You know, especially like you said, a lot of times these meetings run for well over 3 hours. I think, I understand we're moving it back to 6:30 now, but asking parents and community members and teachers, you know, all of the above, to be standing here at 10 PM and beyond to try to make a public comment is ridiculous. Clearly, we're putting those priorities last. So Dr. Bales, I have one question for you. I thought that one of your strategic goals was to increase parent and community participation. I'm wondering how by pushing back the time for public comments to the very end of board meetings, like I said, possibly past 9 and 10 PM, would help you accomplish that goal. Thank you for your time.
David Hickson, sorry, I cannot read your writing, followed by David Genji?
I don't have good handwriting. I apologize. I had shoulder surgery. It's my excuse. I wanted to add to just a moment of silence, perhaps. A report issued today, over 2,000 students in Hawaii are still missing. So it's a school district, and you know that's what you do. So at least I'll be keeping them in my prayers. So I won't say much about this topic. You'll hear a lot, but it's pretty commonplace for any public meeting that public comment be held at the beginning. And as a taxpayer and parent, and for all taxpayers and parents in this district, I believe that we should be heard at the beginning, not at the end. And any excuses that you make really is just an expression of cowardice, that you don't want to hear from us, they hope that you can just run on your meetings until we get tired and don't want to come in because it'll be too late. So don't be cowards. And again, I'll say, if you really firmly believe that we shouldn't be allowed to come up here at the beginning instead of the end, that's a message to your constituency that you don't want to serve them. So do us a favor and resign.
Next is David Genji, I'm not sure how to say that, followed by Alan Walker.
All right, so David Genge, it's all right.
Thank you.
board members, President Case, Superintendent Bales. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm a father to 3 girls in the district, and though I have been advocating and active for many years, my oldest just joined the PV school district. Hubble, Principal Hubble, I just gave you a promotion. This is a great man. I just want to say that my daughter has a very positive move into Grayhawk. At this meeting 2 weeks ago, as we're talking about, the board proposed the idea of moving call to the public to the very end. Several attendees, as we've heard all night, have voiced their concern that this will, in effect, silence some of our voices. Thank you to Ms. Christensen for actually advocating not to move it to the back 2 weeks ago. So to the board members advocating to move call to the public to the end, this appears to be a play to suppress public comments by we the parents, by the taxpayers, by the voters. It increases the chances that online attendees will log off before public comment. It increases the chances. I mean, we've seen a lot of people leave. I'm surprised there's this many behind me. I thought I was going to turn out a fewer. It increases the chances that the attendees here will leave. It increases the chances that we're all just getting ready to pack up and go. So I fear that this will suppress and deter more parents to speak. And it's not whether anyone agrees with me or if I agree with them. That's not the point. A lot of us disagree, but it's a critical element of the agenda for the parents, the voters, the educators. Our voices need to be heard. Pushing comments to the end will suppress the ability to address the board. Your constituents deserve to be heard, not pushed to the end of the agenda after the crowd has waned. I implore you to make the right decision. Thank you.
President Case and the governing board, Dr. Bales and cabinet members. Again, my name is Alan Walker. I had a concern about, in a few minutes, you will be voting on this agenda, and I hope that it does not pass. I think I echo the basic sentiments that other people have been sharing, that if this does move the call to public to the end of the governing board meetings, that it's essentially silencing our voice. And I realize that there's still opportunities to address specific items on the agenda, but there may be other items that need to be heard. And I think if you want to make a change, how about putting it at letter F instead of where it is, but don't put it at the end of the meeting. And that's all.
Jessica Landon, followed by Wendy Mahler. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Wendy Mahler, followed by Jeff Landay.
Good evening, President Case. My name is Wendy Mahler, Cabinet and Board, all attending. I'm probably just repeating what many others have spoken about today. By moving the public comment to the end, you're discouraging participation with all stakeholders. One of the superintendent's goals is to improve communication. And I think that this would greatly diminish communication between stakeholders and the board and the school district. This is not a way of reducing contention either, which I know that's something that you guys worry about, is the contention that's going on within our constituency. This is not a way to do it. This seems like another move, like the YouTube channel that you put on the school board, what we're here doing now. Up in the corner, there's like when it's public comment, it's this little screen, tiny little screen with words written over it. And so people that are watching from home, it seems like it's just waiting interaction with that. So basically, let's not move it. let's just keep it where it is, keep public comment where it is. There was also the time being brought up and worrying about principals needing to go home. Well, you want to keep them till the very end, late at night, when you want them to go home. You're moving the board meeting up earlier, but you still want to move the call the public to the very end. So it seems like two different messages here. So let's please just keep it where it is or earlier. Thank you.
Jeff Landay, followed by Mary Beth Senecal.
Hi, thank you. My name is Jeff Landay. Let's pull this up. Sorry. I've spoken a couple times up here before. I have 2 kids who attend schools in the district. I appreciate being able to speak in front of the board and the administration. I wanted to comment on the topic of moving the call of the public to the end. But first, I'd like to mention a few things that maybe you're feeling like why you need to do this. When parents like me come up here and comment on our concerns, please know that though we might disagree on some things done by the board and the district, we do in fact appreciate the hard work and sacrifice it takes to be a board member and the hard work and dedication it takes to be a superintendent, administrator, teacher, principal, etc. The goal is not to attack nor belittle anyone, but to participate in making PVUSD the best district it can be. After all, we send our kids here, so we all have a stake in this. Parents like me are stakeholders and taxpayers in the district, and we have an expectation that the board and administration steward the resources and time it has responsibly. We aren't asking anyone to work harder, but smarter. The majority of us parents want what is best for all of the kids, especially our own. We want them to be seen as individuals, treated equally. What we don't want is for them to be grouped or talked about according to skin color or orientation, as if that had anything to do with their scholastic education. It does not. Parents like me aren't out to ban books anywhere just to have age-appropriate things in our schools. I don't think that's too much to ask. As far as moving call to the public to the end of the meeting, it's a very main way for us parents to partner with you in our shared goal of educating our kids well. I just can't understand the reason for wanting to move it to the end of the meeting unless, as was pointed out, there's some desire to silence voices or keep people from wanting to speak. It can't be because of inappropriate comments made during this time. I mean, really, I've seen way more inappropriate content in some of my kids' things they're being taught, even in 3rd grade, than what I've seen at these meetings. We know they run late. Even Mrs. Baker talked about not always being able to put her kids to bed on school board meeting nights. Though public can comment during the meeting agenda items, the ability to make other comments here will be hindered if this change goes through. As a board, if you truly want to show us parents and constituents that you value rather than fear our input and partnership, I strongly recommend that you vote this down. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Beth Senecal, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, followed by Donna Howski.
Seneschal, yes, thank you. My name is Mary Beth Seneschal. Good evening, school board, President Case, Dr. Bales, and cabinet members. I am very, very much against you moving the call to the public to the end of the school board meeting, and here is why. First of all, look at all these people behind me, and certainly there's many more people that could not be here this evening, but truly, these are your constituents that live in the Paradise Valley School District and come here to share information and to also be informed about what is going on in their school district. So don't they deserve to know what others in their district think about and what is going on in the schools that we, all the people that you're looking at, pay for out of our hard-earned tax dollars? I've stayed to the end of your meetings, and there are often few people, this has been mentioned, there's very few people left at the end. So a lot of people would be discouraged about coming to share information, and we're just wondering, like, what's the true purpose for this? Because it definitely looks like there's an agenda behind this, why you don't want people to be able to come and speak and be heard by everyone. And also, I've learned that if this vote does pass, you're going to put the call to the public at the very end, which would be after the vote, which would really negate the purpose of people coming up to speak because you've already voted on it. And if I'm missing something here, I don't know, sometimes I know you guys speak on things twice, but maybe a person couldn't make it to both meetings. They lose their opportunity to talk. So there's really no point from what I can see, there's no point in people even coming to speak at all if you're going to put it after the vote. So I'm very concerned about this because from what I understand, you guys took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States, and the very first amendment of the Constitution, we all know, is freedom of speech. Okay, do you realize how egregious this appears to all of us, your constituents, okay, that have put many of you where you are? I'm shocked by this, and again, if I'm missing something, please let me know, but it makes it look like the board really doesn't care much about what the taxpayers in front of you, these people behind me, people watching online, the people that put you in your positions have to say. And lastly, President Case, I know you had mentioned last time you had a principal friend, and this has been mentioned, that people don't want children if they have to hear these things. My question, and other people said this to me too, it just hit a nerve. It's like, why do we have to come up and talk about these things in the literature, the filth in the literature, the pornography people are finding, parents are finding? If it wasn't there, there wouldn't be this not child-friendly atmosphere. Okay, you'd have a very happy, kind, friendly, child-friendly atmosphere here where people could come and speak their minds if we didn't have all this garbage in the literature. So it seems very clear that getting rid of the inappropriate materials in the schools should be your objective in that case, and not silencing your constituents, the people that pay for the schools that you are governing. Thank you very much.
Donna Katowski.
Good evening, President Case, Superintendent Bales, and board members. My name is Donna Gutowski. Thank you for having the public comments early in the meeting. I attended Deer Valley Unified School District meeting last night and didn't get home until 11:30 p.m. That's okay. It was worth it. Lots of information was released at the later portion of the meeting, and I'm retired, so it really doesn't matter. However, young parents spoke early in the evening as well. The two, mother and father, partnered with their 3-minute allotments to discuss their child's being bullied at school, their interaction with the school, and the lack of response. Another woman spoke of a recent pedophile case involving a Deer Valley Unified School District employee. All three of these speakers, parents, had to leave before the meeting ended. They have children to return home to, babysitters who have time limits, and early morning schedules that include school kids and jobs. By choosing to move your public speaking to the end of the meeting, you are purposely silencing these parents. What on your agenda is more important than hearing what your community and parents, and sometimes students, have to say? You have study sessions for long discussion items and multiple communications. Nothing is more important at a school board meeting than listening to what the public has to say. Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the revisions to the governing board policy BEDB agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. I'm going to make my comment first. I usually save it for, I have to leave to make an airplane tonight, but I just want to bring up some issues that, like I said, I've been attending board meetings for almost 30 years now. And during my time attending board meetings, we have never had as much inaccurate material presented at board meetings. And I've been doing this a long, long time. And there has become a division nationally, and an issue was brought up tonight that is a national issue. It is not going on in our district. And if something is going on in our district, I want to know. But just because it's happening nationally does not mean it's happening in our district. We strive very hard to have good material in our classrooms. We have teachers who have dedicated their lives. And if there is a particular problem, I want to know, this board wants to know, but because it's happening nationally does not mean it's happening in this district. You have to know that. Your comments are discouraging our teachers. There is a lack of teachers now in our district, and we need our teachers to stay. We want our principals to stay. We want to provide the best education we can. I've had 7 children go through this district. I have found it to be wonderful. I want it to stay wonderful. If there are problems, we take care of them. We don't ignore them. We take care of them. We want the best education for our children that is possible. And we are not trying to step on anyone's toes. And one of the thoughts I've had, maybe we could try call to the public to the end and then revisit again in January and see, let me finish.
Point of order.
Excuse me,
Point of
you
order.
may not speak. You had your choice to speak. We cannot handle, this meeting is for the governing board and we invite the public participate. You have had your time and now it is our time. Let's be polite. I listen politely to you. So if there are difficulties in our district, we want to hear about them. Dr. Bales wants to hear about them. We are committed to taking care of our children. I am a mom. I have 31 grandchildren. I want what is best for children. I don't want things presented to my children that I disagree with. So if there are particular concerns, we want to hear about them. But to restate national activities as if they're going on in our district is inappropriate. And oftentimes the words used, the books shown, it is not appropriate. And by the way, we have not always broadcasted our school board meetings. This has been happening, is it 4 years? With the pandemic, it came in and we changed to having a YouTube station. So people had to come to the board meeting. They couldn't watch it at home. So this is a new thing. So when you say we've changed something, it's new to us how to handle this. This board meeting is for the governing board to take care of the business of the district so we can go forward. We as a board and as a superintendent and as a cabinet want to do what's best for children. We are striving daily to improve their reading ability, to improve 8th grade math, for instance. We are doing so many things. Our teachers are being trained. The PBIS that we recognize tonight, I have taught in my home for years children. If they're disruptive, you cannot teach them. So we are trying to institute positive behavior rewards and can tell them they're doing a great job. They are kind to a neighbor, we give them something to acknowledge that. We want to enforce positive behavior so that we can have classrooms where teaching is permitted. And someone mentioned that you can't, and I can respond to this because it was on an item, that we can't, you can always speak on the items, like H3 is not a public comment, it is an item, and you can always sign a blue card to speak on it. So we're not trying to take away the public's ability to speak. We want to hear what you have to say. As a member of the public, as a mother in this district, I spoke many, many times. I wanted the board to know what I thought. When they changed report cards, I thought it's a terrible idea. And I spoke about that. And then they went back to a better report card. So I just, I don't think that you understand that we are doing all the things that we possibly can. Part of it is some of the comments, and I was talking, I've had, and as many people who spoke tonight, I have read letters from people who wanted the public comment moved to the end. So you have heard from the public that wanted it, left where it was, but I have received many, many letters, and I talked to principals last night at the administrative activity. They wanted it moved to the end. So just because you haven't heard from people doesn't mean there's a difference of opinion. So as a governing board, we try very hard to listen to everyone. I truly tried to do that on a personal basis. I perhaps could move this to after items for approval or after the superintendent's comments, perhaps, but I would like to keep the celebrations and the new hire of people before public comment. And I don't know how that can be best done. Like I said, we can revisit this again after the public has shown that, yes, you can be respectful and not say, and oh, no, we're not. That is not true. Excuse me, you may not speak out in the meeting. We have listened to you. But you can't call out board members by name. That is not appropriate. We try to be polite to you, and we would like you to be polite to us. So I've made my comments. I'm going to have to leave, but I'm going to participate on my phone calling into the meeting. I'm sorry I have to leave, and Mrs. Baker will continue to direct the meeting and preside over the meeting. I wanted to put my comments in before I left so I could look at you while I was speaking and not do it on a phone. That doesn't mean I won't call back in and say more things. But thank you for your comments. I appreciate public discourse. And in case you don't think I think about the Constitution, I made sure all 7 of my children received a very strong education personally on the Constitution. So I just wanted to relay that. And I believe that we have a democracy and we should listen to people. So thank you.
Thank you, President Case. Any other board comments?
Well, I agree with what, oh,
Sorry.
good to go here? I can talk now? Okay. Yes, I agree with a lot of what President Case said here. The purpose of people being here at board meetings is to witness what we decide here, what we vote on. That's why it's the public meeting laws. When you speak to the board, you're speaking to the board. You're not speaking to each other out in the seats out here. So it doesn't matter when you speak. You can send your emails in. Again, what Mrs. Case said was correct as far as the emails I received. It was like 2 to 1 in favor of making this change. So it's not just her saying that. It's free speech. You still get to say it. You're not missing out giving your input to us on something that we vote on. That's the blue card. Those are things on the agenda. We vote on those agenda things. Your voice is heard then. So some of these objections I heard to, that's my feelings about what I'm hearing on those objections. It's free speech. You're going to say whatever you want to say. We'll listen to it. I've listened to many things said here. I listened and give feedback. I even bought a book recently based on feedback here to find out what's really going on with some of this literature. So yes, I'm for this change. And for the reasons Mrs. Case said and the ones I mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board comments? Ms. Christensen?
I'm kind of saddened by hearing what I'm hearing right now. Moving call to the public, I think it's a big mistake. I think that maybe it doesn't silence voices, but there's an appearance of suppression of participation, silencing voices. I personally felt that while I respect President Case, I felt that that was a big scolding, and this is why parents are and community members and teachers get frustrated, I think, with us as a governing body. While I do agree that we need to have discourse in a way that we're respectful to one another, these are difficult times, and I understand that President Case and Mrs. Greenberg, but they've served this district well for 20 years. We're in a very different time now, and we need to hear the voices. I've been called out too personally. I think it would be difficult for parents with young children, as some of you have already mentioned, and our educators. I want my teachers teachers of the district to be well rested if they want to. We had at least two teachers today come up and give public comment, and it just saddens me. It saddens me that we're doing this, and I don't agree with it. We'll see how the board votes, but even if it doesn't silence voices, there's an appearance that we don't want to hear from our constituents. I personally want to hear from all of you, whether you agree with me or not. And I always encourage individuals to come to me personally or speak on public comment. Thank you.
Mrs. Greenberg.
Yes, I just want to remind everyone that call to the public is not a dialogue. We can talk about discourse, et cetera, but it is for the public to bring to our attention items not listed on the agenda as it says. We can't respond, we can't discuss, we can't engage, we can't interact. So no matter where it is on the agenda, it is an opportunity for the public to address non-agenda items. But I agree with many of the comments that Mrs. Case and Mr. Pantera made. We have received we've received input that, like they both said, folks here are asking us not to move it. Many people are asking us to move it. This does not infringe on anyone's First Amendment rights by any stretch. We are simply moving it on the agenda if this goes through. That's it. We have been told, a speaker last meeting talked about we shouldn't move it because individuals may provide misinformation. Quite honestly, I found that to be truly disheartening. That someone may choose to use that opportunity to provide misinformation purposely. We can't be up here. We're here to, we can't react, quite honestly. If somebody were to provide a piece of information during call to the public, A, we can't fact check it, but B, we can't respond to it anyway. So there's really nothing we can do. If somebody does that during a blue card session, we can't fact check it either. But I just found, I found that incredibly discouraging and disheartening. That may be the reason that somebody wants to come to call to the public. I sincerely hope it's not. But moving it or keeping it where it is isn't going to change that. There is no suppression of voices. There is, no reason. We are listening to constituents. And, certainly we can see how it goes. But at the moment, this is the agenda item before us.
Thank you, Mrs. Greenberg. So as I'm listening to all these voices and all these opinions, I'm wondering if there's some sort of compromise if we amended it, and I don't know if I can do this, Dr. Bales, to put call to the public before items for discussion. So it's after the agenda items. I don't know if that's something people would be interested in the spirit of compromise, or if that's something we can talk about. Make a motion.
Mrs. Baker.
Yes.
That's what I was
President
talking.
Case.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was talking about, that we could move it to a different location. We could move it to after for approval or right before items of approval.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion instead of putting call to the public after items for discussion. I would like to move it to after items for approval.
Mrs.
can I
Baker,
get
so
a-
it would become H.
Yes, I
and
believe.
Items for discussion would become I.
Is, yes, correct?
I think it would be G is consent, H is items for.
Well, Mrs. Case, I'm looking at the where it would be revised. So if we do move it, everything moves up because it would no longer be E.
Yes. That out.
Okay. Yeah, so the amendment would be to. Yes, the amendment is to move it after items for approval. Would anyone like to second that?
I second that.
Okay, any discussion around that? Any comments?
I'm thinking about it right now, because, I'm trying to wrap my head around this first time I heard about it. So you're trying to move.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to spring it, but I was just trying to, listen to
We're
everyone.
voting to amend it.
yes,
Well, I'm trying to decide if I want to vote
That's
for it or not.
perfect, thank you.
That's all I'm trying to say here. And you're saying right before items for approval.
No, after items for approval.
Oh, after items for approval.
Still after items for approval, but before discussion items.
Okay, so I'm making my arrows here.
Also, if I continue to hear outbursts from the crowd, you will be asked to leave. Thank you.
That came up a lot in the email too, about rude behavior of people.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, okay, so after items for approval, it's right before items for discussion. All right, thank you, I'm ready to vote.
On the amendment?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. All those in favor of moving call to the public to after items for approval? Is that correct? Amending,
Amending the motion.
amending the motion. So this is my first amendment. Thank you for bearing with me.
And state the whole thing that.
Okay. All those in favor of the amendment for moving call to the public to after items for approval and before items for discussion, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, motion passes 4-1. The amendment
On the
passes
amendment.
4-1. Okay. The original motion said, as
You got this.
So what am I reading?
The motion has been amended, so it's the main motion as amended.
Okay, so the motion has been amended. Am I asking for approval?
We're going to
The
vote.
vote on that, yeah.
May I have a motion to approve the revisions to the governing board policy BEDB agenda as amended? There, I got it. Mr. Christensen, can you?
So
So moved.
moved.
Thank you, Mr. Panzera. Any discussion? Did I still ask for discussion? Any discussion around? Yes, Ms. Christensen.
I still think that's too late. I would like to see it stay as is, but that's all my discussion.
Any other comments on that? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1. Okay, next on the agenda is Dr. Bales.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Baker, governing board members, cabinet and guests. Tonight we present approval resolution 544A a revision to the IGA, the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Phoenix for school resource officers for the 23-24 school year. This is a welcomed revision since PV Schools was awarded SRO positions that were not going to be staffed by either Phoenix PD or Scottsdale Police. This revision adds Horizon High School to the grant since Phoenix PD decided to staff several more schools across the city, and Horizon High School was selected as one of those to be staffed in this grant since our last IGA was presented for your approval just a couple weeks ago. Dr. Asmussen is available to answer any questions, but we do recommend approval.
Thank you, Dr. Bales. Do we have any public comment on this? Okay. May I have a motion to approve resolution number 544A, a revision to the intergovernmental agreement with City of Phoenix for school resource officers for the 2023-2024 school year as presented?
So moved.
Any board members wishing to make a comment? Ms. Christensen?
I'm really happy about this. I think this is a great thing for our district, and I can't say enough about our school resource officers. Every time I pass one, and I don't know where Sergeant Wilson is, I always talk to him during the meeting, but we just appreciate them so much for keeping us safe, for keeping our staff and students and everything. So we wish we could have more of them, but this is a welcome change. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, I too applaud the having these officers, these folks on our campus, because it fulfills that part of our strategic plan to take care of the emotional safety of our children, taking care of their mental health, and this really helps a lot. So I'm very much for this.
Thank you, Mr. Renzera. Okay. All those in favor of this motion, say aye.
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 All those. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is gifts and donations. I just have a few I would like to review. Echo Mountain Intermediate School received a donation for $1,000 from Dorito Partners for their Caught Being Kind store. Indian Bend Elementary School received a donation from Larry Seaman and Lois Seaman for the amount of $2,000 for school use. And Paradise Valley High School received a donation from Jostens in the amount of $3,000 for faculty appreciation and staff development. So we're always grateful for any gifts and donations in any denomination. May I have a motion for acceptance of gifts and donations, please?
So moved.
Any board member wishing to make a comment? All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Is next up items for discussion? Dr. Bales?
Thank you. Board members, President Pro Tem Baker, cabinet and guests, we are excited to share with you, kind of building on that SRO grant, an update so you know where we're at in developing our safety protocols across the district. And so Dr. Kors and Dr. Asmussen will present an update regarding our safety efforts for the 23-24 school year. And I think you'll be pleased. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I advance it? Oh, it's up. Okay, thank you. President Case, telephonically, President Pro Tem, Ms. Baker, members of the board, Dr. Bales, cabinet, and our guests. My name is Chris Asmussen, and I am pleased to present information in our district's efforts to increase and maintain high levels of safety and security. This evening, I will review information and answer questions about the emergency response teams, the emergency response plans they craft and implement, and I will describe the role that social workers, counselors, and school resource officers play in maintaining safe learning environments. I will share the information about the School Safety Program grant, which pays for many of these positions. I will also share information on how our district prepares and would respond to an active assailant on campus. And finally, I will discuss our continued steps to maintain safe and secure schools. But before I continue, I'd like to emphasize to the board and to our community that PV Schools has a longstanding and strong commitment to school safety. Our district has been on the leading edge of best practices for many years. PV Schools is not in the development mode. We are in the review, evaluate, and improve stages of our preparedness. DIRT is short for the District Emergency Response Team, and each site has a CERT, or a School Emergency Response Team. DIRT is made up of the district-level directors that play a pivotal role in responding to a large-scale event, or whose department may be activated to support a site that is experiencing an out-of-the-ordinary need. In addition, the DIRT team includes parents, educational support staff, teachers, site-based administrators, emergency responders, community members, a school nurse, and a school psychologist. DIRT meets quarterly to discuss the safety needs of the district. The bulk of the committee's work is to review, evaluate, and refine our current practices. In addition, the committee develops tabletop exercises for the school-based teams to discuss and challenge themselves with. The exercise makes the school team think about how they would activate their emergency response plan and put their incident command system into place. School teams will vary slightly from site to site, but generally they are comprised of an administrator, teachers, educational support staff, parents, the awarded position from the grant, the nurse, and a school-based mental health professional. Each member of the school team brings their lens and their perspective to the committee. The team is responsible for coordinating all of the safety efforts and prevention programs on their campus. And each member of the CERT committee must have completed FEMA's IS 100 training, which provides an introduction to the incident command system. An immediate goal of the CERT committee at the beginning of each year is to review and revise the school's emergency response plan. Throughout the year, they are charged with discussing the safety needs of their campus and addressing any issues or challenges that may have been identified. They plan and implement evacuation and lockdown drills and coordinate all of the school's preventative programs to create a comprehensive approach to school safety. The CERT committee fills the leadership roles of incident command in the event that the school's emergency response plan is activated. Schools that have been awarded a grant position are required to establish a school safety and assessment and prevention team, which must meet quarterly to discuss the school's safety needs and how they will use the awarded position. The school CERT team will meet this requirement. The school's emergency response plan, or SERP, is their guide to handling events that may take place on campus. The plan houses the school's incident command structure, maps, master schedules, rosters, and staff skill inventories. The document provides guidance and response protocols to over 30 potential hazards. The protocols address a whole wide range of potential challenges, from an active assailant to what we would do if a swarm of bees landed on a playground tree. The SERP gives details and describes when it is appropriate to call for a shelter in place, a lockdown, or when to call for an evacuation. In June, we celebrated Dr. Stacy Anderson, a PV school psychologist who co-wrote an article that was published on the front page of the National Association of School Psychologists communique publication. Her article discussed the Arizona Department of Education's efforts to train school personnel on the PREPARE model. PREPARE is a model that helps educators and school-based mental health professionals provide mental health triage and mental health first aid to our students and staff following a crisis event. PREPARE also advocates for including school-based mental health professionals on emergency response teams and involving them when planning drills. In addition, mental health professionals help ensure emergency plans cover all staff and all students, including those with cognitive delays, physical disabilities, and language barriers. In May, we trained roughly 30 mental health professionals, many of whom serve on our Care and Concern team, and we have another training planned in late September. In Paradise Valley, we take all threats seriously and investigate every threat that we are aware of. We have a team-based approach to conducting threat assessments. When individuals make any threat against the school or individuals, the threat assessment process is initiated at the school level. The site team may consult with a district team during the process. Threat assessments are meant to determine the likelihood that the threat will be carried out and to assess the root cause of the threat. There are two goals. First, to ensure the safety of those on campus, and then also to provide support to the person making the threat. The goal is to provide support and interventions and take away the individual's need to aggress toward the school or others. Similarly, when individuals express thoughts and actions of self-harm, PV Schools has a team-based approach to a suicide risk assessment with a goal of providing support to the individual. Counselors and social workers will often serve on the school's PBIS committee and work in other ways to connect students to their school and school campus. When students have a connection to their school community, they are less likely to aggress toward others. Counselors and social workers provide or direct Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports, which may include daily check-ins, leading small groups, or developing individual behavior support plans. In this way, mental health professionals support school safety through preventative measures. The board just approved or revised the IGA between Paradise Valley Schools and the City of Phoenix. The agreement provides Phoenix police officers to several of our campuses serving the role of school resource officer. Please note that the school safety program covers $165,165 of the total cost of the SROs. And with now 16 SROs, that equates to roughly $2.6 million annually. The IGA also provides for one Phoenix police officer that serves all schools throughout the district. This officer is based at Sweetwater Community School. The officer is not paid out of the grant. The district covers this expense, which is why they're referred to as a school safety officer. And on the screen, we had off-duty officers supporting Horizon High School. Now that will change over to a school resource officer. 35 of our schools applied for the current grant cycle of the School Safety Program grant offered through the Arizona Department of Education. Schools could apply for school resource officer, social worker, or counselor. Schools used a wide variety of data to support their need for an awarded position. They used discipline data, the Arizona Youth Survey, and stakeholder surveys to support their school's need. The Arizona Department of Education also gathered some data and pulled county crime rates, as well as looked at our school's compliance to the previous grant, which was very good. 32 of our schools were awarded a position, and however, we're still working to fill some of those positions that have been awarded. Currently, the grant is now supporting 16 school resource officers and 11 social worker and counselor positions. Shifting our attention to the physical safety of our campuses, threat vulnerability assessments identify the gaps and weaknesses that undermine a school's security. The assessments are completed by trained police officers and the school's administration. This past summer, we worked with the Phoenix Police Department and conducted 25 assessments around the district, and scheduling is currently taking place to conduct TVAs at our remaining sites. Assessment information is uploaded to a database that first responders have access to when they arrive on scene. The information is also used by the CERT teams as they develop and implement the school emergency response plans. Based on recommendations from DIRT, schools are now providing in-person active shooter preparedness training that focuses on situational awareness. Staff are asked to remain calm and alert at all times, taking in information through their senses and being prepared to respond should they feel that something is out of place. If something looks off or smells off, we empower our staff to investigate. Our staff are also empowered with the ability to call for an emergency lockdown. They may exercise an option-based response when faced with a possible threat. Staff may choose to evacuate or lock down their classroom based on the information they have. This means that we provide in plain and clear language the nature of the threat when activating an emergency lockdown. We have also begun to announce our lockdown drills to our families. This allows parents and guardians the ability to talk with their children, to reduce anxiety, to take them seriously, and to follow teacher direction on the first request. Our goal is to be prepared, not scared. We're not anxious. We are relaxed, calm, and alert. There are many products available to schools to support their safety efforts. The DIRT team has been evaluating our needs against what these products can offer in terms of increased safety. We already have a lot of measures in place to maintain safe and secure learning environments. Our schools have a perimeter fencing. During the school day, we have a process and procedures in place for a single point of entry where visitors are required to sign in and wear a badge. All of our classroom doors are equipped with an interior single action lock. It is simple and easy to engage the lock. However, best practice is to ensure a safe learning environment is to teach with the door closed and locked. Threat vulnerability assessments and the CERT team evaluations may yield recommendations where commercial products may be employed to provide increased levels of security. These products will have to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis to ensure that they are addressing the safety concern that is otherwise going unaddressed. If it is a people and process challenge, then we need to address the people and processes before we add products. And we need to ensure that the products actually make us safer rather than make us feel safer. By assessing our sites for vulnerabilities and using data to lead their discussions, CERT teams are continually evaluating our schools' levels of preparedness. And with that, I will answer any questions that you will have.
Thank you, first of all, for the presentation. As a parent and a board member, I love hearing this update. I've worked in and with other districts that don't have any sort of plan, let alone one this detailed and outlined. And so I just appreciate the hard work that went into it. Does any board member have a question, or Mrs. Christensen?
Yes, wow, thank you. That was very comprehensive. I really, it seemed very thoughtful and, well thought out. And I loved be prepared, not scared. I really like that a lot because that's very important for all of us, including our children and teachers. I just had a question I heard counselor, social worker, school psychologist. Can you explain the difference in roles and licensing between the three? And I think it's great that we're supporting all support, not just the physical self, but also supporting the children that way too. But I'm trying to understand what the different roles are for behavioral support.
Thank you, Board Member Christensen. So I may not be the best one to answer the question fully. However, as we transition to this new grant cycle, one of the things that the grant is now asking is that in addition to the licensure of a counselor or the licensure of a social worker, that they also are then certified by the state. So that's one new addition to the grant and to the requirements that we have. Counselors and social workers, their roles do vary very slightly. Social workers often are supporting students and making referrals out to supports that might be found out into the community. And our counselors are supporting the social emotional needs of our students as well as helping them with our academic trajectories.
So I would just add for some clarification, certifications in the school setting are different than a clinical setting. And so ADE, of course, certifies school counselors, and they're really trained and certified to provide diagnostic evaluations for educational reasons, not medical reasons. Counselors, they're not clinical as well. They're school counselors. They're more trained on the academic counseling and advising. Social workers have a different background and experience, but it's not therapeutic.
Thank you, Dr. Bales.
Any other comments or questions?
Well, just that I've, as a teacher in the district, I remember going through these videos we see at the beginning of the year about, the types of evacuations, about shooters on site, all those kind of things. Found them very valuable. I know one time I had to call once, not about a shooter. Okay, there was like a fire issue, and I was able to call on the phone, and we evacuated the school based on what I said, just like that. No questions about it. The emphasis was on do it first and check it out later, and make sure that you do the right thing, the safe thing. So I'm sure this is even better now from the presentation, the very good presentation you gave, by the way, to enhance that and go even further with it. So thank you.
Mrs. Greenberg?
Yeah, I want to add my thanks. We have advanced quite a bit. I remember once upon a time sitting in a meeting with the Department of Homeland Security. who were here because they recognized what we had done even at that point, and that was a few years ago. So to see where we are now and to know how well we support our students and our staff and our families and community this way, I really appreciate all the work that you and your team do and that we all do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Before we adjourn, I would like to remind you that the next regular board meeting will be held on Thursday, September 21st at 6:30 PM instead of 7. And may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone.